Alright folks, so we just had a look at the flash video of fuzzing in practice using some of the tools built into Backtrack. This next line of demonstrations is going to give you some more insight as to once you've covered all of the analysis side, you've looked at the reconnaissance, you're now ready to start launching some of the exploits. Rather than just using the typical script kiddie types of tools, we're going to look at this a little bit in deeper depth. So to start off with, I'm going to use Nmap with the service versioning detection against port 21 FTP, so we can see what service that is actually running. Is it running a Microsoft version or an alternative? So in this example you can see now that our target system is running FTP and it's running the ServU FTP daemon. So once I found that out, next thing I want to do is change to the pen test directory, the exploits, and within that directory we've got two little scripts that will update a directory hierarchy built into Backtrack. One is the millworm directory hierarchy of exploits, and two is the sec focus, the security focus directory. So I'm going to go ahead and update the sec focus directory, and as you can see this is going to go out to the Hacking Defined website. You don't need any password to do this, and in a few moments it's going to poll for any updates within that folder hierarchy. In this case, as you can see, it's starting to update it now. Likewise, you can do the same for the millworm directory. Our objective of this is to search the folder hierarchy for any exploit code that's got the keyword ServU within it. We can then look at the source code exploit, compile it, and then launch it against our target server. In this case, depending on the exploit, hopefully looking at gaining remote access to that system. Okay, so now that we've updated that directory structure, let's have a look at taking this a little further now. I'm going to actually change to the sec focus directory, and within that directory I have another little script which will give me the ability to update the exploit list.txt file. And that text file is simply a list of all the folders and what they actually contain. So let's run that script to create that updated text list. And once it's done that, I can use a various array of editors from Vi to Nano or Kwrite. Probably Kwrite in this instance is probably better to use. I personally find it easier to search for the data within it. If you ever want to look at how these scripts work, have a look at opening the actual script rather than executing it with any kind of text editor, and that should give you a good idea as to exactly what these scripts are doing. You'll find built into Backtrack is an array of scripts that will automate a lot of the processes for us. Alright, so now that it's updated that exploit list text file, let's have a look at using Kwrite and open up that exploit list. And we can then search for ServU. Make sure you don't select the case sensitive, so I'm going to just use the ServU. And as you can see, if I press F3 it will take a long time. Let's try and modify that slightly and use the serv-u. And there we have quite a few ServU source code exploits in a lot of the different folders. So a ton of them out there. Okay, the next step for me is to change to a directory that contained one of those exploits. So this is going to be the 9751 directory. You do also need to know that, of course, programming and knowledge of compiling is going to be very advantageous over here. With this example, I already have all the library files and the dependencies, but you may come across situations where you don't have all the library and dependencies that you actually need. So let's have a look at using one of these source code exploits. And in this example, I can choose to actually open up the ex_servU exploit and look at the actual code. In this case, it's actually also telling me how to compile this code. So this is very helpful. Naturally, not all source code exploits will have this in, but there it's showing me exactly how I would actually compile that. And then looking further down This is the actual source of the exploit. Okay, so I'm going to copy the exploit source code to the temp directory so that I can compile it. I'm going to change to the temp directory, and I'm now going to choose to use the gcc -o for output. I'm going to call my executable serve and then tell it to use the source code that ends in the .c. Once I've done that, I now have an executable that I can run, and as you can also see, it's giving me the actual usage options. Again, not all exploit code gives you the usage options on how you actually launch that exploit. So in this case it does, and we'll use the -h for the host, specify the target or the victim address, and the type is a Windows 2000 English box. And we can then launch that, and hopefully in a few seconds we should be presented with the remote command prompt. And as you can see, I'm now at the remote command prompt as if I'm at that box. If you have the resource kit tool Who Am I installed, you can see I now have full NT authority system access, which is higher than admin rights. So at this point, you'll also note that you can do an array of additional attacks now. The process that a hacker will take would of course be varied, but in this instance, just to give you some ideas, we can look at creating a user account for ourselves. We could perhaps upload a repackaged set of applications that would include rootkits, perhaps CryptCat to create that backdoor access to that system that's encrypted. We can look at extracting the SAM database or the Active Directory database, the hashes, copy that file offline so that we can crack the entire database. You're going to be looking at going through some of these other examples through some of the latter modules, and you may have already seen some of these examples in the Hacking Windows module.